first of all, I think you can leave those two chairs in case latecomers come in, but let's tighten up the circle just a little bit. Or we can expand it in that case, give you all a little more space.
We're pretty tight over here.
Yeah. You're like, we're good. Thank you. Okay, cool.
Come on. That'd be awesome. Wiggle in.
All right, so I'm just going to give you a very brief overview first of what we're going to do and who I am. So my name is Walken Schweigert. My pronouns are he, him, his. I am co-artistic director and co-founder of Open Flame Theater, which is a predominantly transgender, trans-led theater company that I founded here in Minneapolis in 2008 under the name The Unseen Ghost Brigade. I want to take this opportunity first to name my teachers and bring them into the room. Rena Moretzka, Stacy Klein of Double Edge Theater, Carlos Uriona of Double Edge Theater, Joan Shirley, Ronlyn Foreman, Joe Krinke, Stephanie Thompson, Starhawk. So just wanted to offer their names into this space. So yeah, I'm an actor, a musician, and a composer, and a director, and a producer as well with my own company, Open Flame. And I have been participating in ensemble theater and been trained in ensemble theater and simultaneously working in anarchist collectives for 20 years. Something that has come up again and again in my time working with collectives and working with ensembles is that you can't just remove the element of hierarchy and expect everything to go hunky-dory in the void. I'm going to share with you 3 different tools today. I'm going to very briefly touch on consensus, just because I can't possibly talk about the equity empowerment tool and the adaptive learning process without talking about consensus. I also want to be really clear, this workshop is not a workshop on how to use consensus. That would be a full 90 minutes. So I'm going to touch on it very briefly, and then if you have any other questions or want to know more about it, please come up to me afterwards, and I'd be happy to point you in the direction of some more resources. And then I will also briefly touch on the equity empowerment tool. But we're going to spend most of our time today actually going through the adaptive learning process, which is a process that was developed by Robert Chadwick and the Consensus Institute about how to, yes, resolve conflicts, but also how to address any issue as a group, as a community, when you're not sure how to move forward, whether there's been conflict around it or not. So, yes. Okay, I think that was all that I wanted to say. I've been using consensus, as I said, for about 20 years. The EET and the adaptive learning process, those are newer tools for me. Those were tools that came to me through my work with Philadelphia Community Farm, which is a majority Black and brown, queer and trans, intergenerational and multi-abled community that is in Osceola, Wisconsin. It's not in Philadelphia. So it's about an hour or so north and east of here, just on the other side of the St. Croix River. The EET and the adaptive learning process and consensus process, these are all tools that we use at Philadelphia Community Farm. The website is up there if you want more information, phillyfarm.org. The EET was brought to us by Ayana Sol Machado, who was one of the people who developed the tool with Dr. Juan Carlos, who runs the E3 Institute, and the handbook is here. Again, I highly encourage you to look more at their work. And the adaptive learning process came to Philadelphia Community Farm through our collective members, Stephen Briggs and Crystal Odin, who learned the process in their time at Camp Hill, Minnesota. So these are now processes that we use at the farm. I've been using them for like about 4 years or so, which is the amount of time that Philadelphia Community Farm has been run as a collective. Our executive director left in 2021, and those of us who were there at the time decided that we were going to not hire another executive director and that we were going to run the organization as a collective. And so that process was introduced at that time. I'm saying all of this because I want to be really transparent. These are tools that I myself am still learning to use. I have taught a lot of people how to use consensus, and this is my first time being in a room of people with the intention of sharing the equity empowerment tool, the EET, and the adaptive learning process with you. So I am also going to be learning with you as we do this process together. We will get as far as we can, but regardless, even if we don't fully finish going through the adaptive learning process today, there's no way that I could cover it in 90 minutes anyway. Just to give you an example, this is the book that Robert Chadwick wrote. So as you can see, it is a bit of a tome, and also I'm a bit of a nerd. There's a lot that's in here. If you are interested in and feel passionate about helping the communities that you are in and the ensembles that you are in navigate conflict, I cannot recommend this book enough. And he's very clear in the book that it is learning by doing. That is how you do it. So that's what I'm doing today. So I just feel really passionate about this. I'll say a little bit more. Well, I'll say more about it later, as I just said I would. Okay. So first of all, I'm just going to share really briefly. I'm going to touch on these two things, and then we will. And then we'll get into the process. And I will be looking at my phone throughout this session because I do not have a watch, but I wish I did. Now maybe I will get one now that I've had this moment. Okay, so starting with the consensus process. Just so I can get a quick show of hands, is there anyone here who is totally unfamiliar with consensus process? Never heard the word before, never been in a group that used it? Okay, cool. So a very basic rundown of the consensus process. Consensus process is basically how I like to think about it, is that you are getting consent from everybody in the room, all of the decision makers, before moving forward with a decision. That's my understanding about consensus. There's a lot of different ways of talking about it, but that's how I like to think about it, is in the framework of consent. Very basic process. A proposal gets made. Somebody wants to change something. I want to change the lighting in the room. I want to bring in a bunch of lamps and not use these stage lights. Okay. So I bring that proposal to you all if we were a decision-making body. And there would be discussion. Maybe some people would be like, well, actually, like lots of lamps use more electricity and that's more wasteful, et cetera, et cetera. We would negotiate. Based on those questions, comments, concerns, discussion, you adjust the proposal, make whatever adjustments you need to it until everybody could say yes to it. One of the questions that I like to use in this part of the process is, what do you need to say yes to this? And that way we can really suss out, as opposed to, this is something that Robert Chadwick talks about as well, as opposed to thinking about finding common ground. Like, I think a lot of people think about consensus in that way, that everybody's going to have to compromise and we're going to end up with something that we're not happy with, and blah, blah, blah. The reason that this book is called Finding New Ground is that is how he likes to think about it. You're not trying to find this place in between where people are giving up things that are important to them. You are looking for a new place altogether that is informed by everyone's wisdom and knowledge in the room. Every single decision maker. So maybe what happens in this process is that somebody is like, you know what, the stage lights and the lamps, neither of those work for me. What if we go outside and have a fire instead? And it turns out that's actually, everybody can agree to that, you know? So that's one example. And then testing for consensus, I like to use the model of like thumbs up, you're in agreement. Stand aside is you either have like some questions or concerns, but you could still say yes, or you feel like the decision doesn't affect you for whatever reason. And then blocking is very much like, nope, this goes against my values. I could not possibly ever do this. How blocking was explained to me is like that, like hopefully you work through everything that everybody would need to say yes before you get to this point. And that like blocking is something that people who have been using consensus for decades, like some people have been like, I've only used it like twice, you know. So really the idea is that like you are using the discussion, et cetera, et cetera. That was like the most bare bones, no pun intended. Sorry, I also work with bare bones. Maybe some other people in this room, so that's why I said that. Rundown of consensus that I could possibly give. It's like barely enough context to understand the rest of what I'm going to say. So again, if you have comments and questions and curiosities about how to use consensus, I highly encourage you to seek that out. Okay. The next tool that I'm going to talk about really quickly is the equity empowerment tool. And Drew, if you want to break the circle so you can look at it a little bit, you're more than welcome. We'll get back to this very soon, I promise, but I don't want you to feel like you need to have your back to me.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I've learned in using the consensus process is that you spend a lot of time navigating your own and others' emotions. And I think that when a lot of people that I have heard be like, oh God, I don't want to use consensus, a lot of it is about like the arduousness of navigating people's feelings, sometimes including your own. So the equity empowerment tool, one of the reasons that I love it so much is that one thing that I have learned in my life, I was going to say in theater, but it's not just in theater, in my life, is that the only person's emotional reactions or responses that I have any control over are my own. And so one thing that we found at Philly Farm, I'm so glad that Ayana, who's one of our collective members, brought this tool to us, is because being able to navigate your own emotions and understand that you can navigate your own emotions and that you're not just like powerless to any feelings of anger or like delight or whatever. You're not powerless to your feelings. There are ways that you can work with them and learn from them without suppressing them and without taking them out on other people, whether consciously or unconsciously. The tool is begins with an examination of oneself and looking at oneself through the lens of, I think, 15 societal constructs of oppression and power in this society. So it's looking at ones that you might already be thinking about, such as race and gender, but also class, education based on formal educational attainment, assigned sex at birth, sexual orientation, ability, religion, age, size, weight, height, nationality, language, marital status, and environment. And there is a matrix that Juan Carlos and Ayana and others developed that is still evolving, that lists, this is where I'm like, do I dare flip this? No, I don't think I would. This wasn't a clown show, you all are here for that. So you basically can like list the constructs here, right, on this side of the table, so we're, the 15 or whatever. And then here, there's sort of like 3 other categories. Oops, wow. I'm not a visual artist either. But there's basically like, it's about what proximity are you in relation to the power, the construct. So there's there's a border area here. So there's sort of like privilege, like given a lot of power, like oppressed, like this is a situation in which you have less power if this is true, or like you're in like a border area. And so so this is sort of like the first part of the equity empowerment tool, is sort of like making a chart for yourself that looks at this to see, okay, in regards to these like 15 social constructs, where am I? And that's just a way for you to see as you would go into a room, into anywhere in your life, you're like, what positions of power am I bringing in? What relationships to power am I bringing in here? So then, I forgot, I put the feelings wheel there. Does anybody know what the feelings wheel is? No? Okay. Well, you do? Yeah. Okay, so you can Google it later, but it's basically, I found to be this very helpful tool of, it's just a diagram of different emotions and also shows how different emotions get nestled within other emotions. So like betrayal gets nestled within anger, I think? I'm not sure. I just made that up. If that's not right on the wheel, don't come at me. But they can be a helpful complement to this tool because how the equity empowerment tool works is that it's a simple 5-step process, which is why I've drawn it here. So the first part is to look at the situation. Something happens that activates you. And so you want to be able to identify in like the most basic terms what happened that activated you. So-and-so shut a door in my face, or something like that. Without feeling or judgment or blame attached to it, just like the bare nuts and bolts of the situation, like what happened. This part 2, step 2, is how do you feel about it? Now it's important to separate those things. It can be really easy to put them together, to be like the situation, well, so-and-so hurt me, you know? And it's like, okay, well, what did they actually do? And then you can decide how you feel about it. And be like, okay, well, I felt so-and-so slammed this door in my face. I felt disregarded. I felt devalued. You know, you could list, et cetera, et cetera. The third part is where do you feel it in your body? Whatever emotional reaction you're having, where do you feel that in your body? And just identify that for yourself so that you can start or continue increasing the awareness of yourself as a psychophysical being, something that I believe very passionately, that I was taught by my Alexander technique teacher, not just mine, but other people in this room, Joe Krinke, is that we are psychophysical beings, which means that our bodies and minds are not as separate as we tend to think that they are. The fourth step is looking back to this construct and see like, okay, like what lens am I perceiving this through? What lenses do I feel like were present in this interaction? This is very essentialist, but just as like for the purposes of an example, you know, like I'm transgender. Maybe I feel that like the reason that this door was shut in my face was because I'm trans. Is that, and connecting it back like, okay, is that why I'm having this like feeling about it? They could have just let the door fall, but like, you know, I know this person is cis and I'm trans. Is that what's going on? Is that part of what I'm getting activated about in this scenario? And then, separate from that, step 5 is about what action, if any, do you want to take about it? Do you want to have a conversation? Do I want to have a conversation with this person? Do I feel safe enough to have a conversation with this person? Do I want to just vent to my friend about it and then let it go? And so what I feel like the equity empowerment, it can be so easy to just react in the moment when you feel hurt or when you're feeling any kind of intense emotion. And what the equity empowerment tool does is it gives you this, like, I think fairly simple 5-step process of being like, okay, before I take any action about this, like, what actually happened? How do I feel about it? And then just feel like like where do I feel it in my body? What lens could I be perceiving this interaction through? And what action, if any, do I want to take about it? Okay. So those are 2 things that I wanted to share with you. And now, I'm going to be doing a little less talking. You can close this
Okay.
picture, thank you.
Shannon.
Oh, I got you.
Wonderful.
Stay.
Thank you.
Okay, so now we are going to go around in a circle, and we are going to share who we are. You're going to answer the questions of who are you, what is your relationship to the issue of conflict within ensembles. So that could also be addressed as like, what interested you in coming to this workshop? Like, what is your relationship? Yeah, what is your relationship to this issue? What are your expectations for this workshop? Which we have about an hour left of. And how do you feel about being here? So again, those questions are, who are you? What is your relationship to this issue? What are your expectations for this workshop? And how do you feel about being here? I'm not going to time people, but a lot of these processes revolve going around a circle, so I will just ask that people be aware of the time and space that you're taking up. I want you to answer these questions, that's why I'm asking them. And I think we're all aware that, we don't have the time here for everyone to talk for 10 minutes. So in response to these questions, there will be other ones. So,
those 4 questions one more time.
Yes. Who are you? What is your relationship to the issue of conflict within ensembles? What are your expectations for this workshop? And how do you feel about being here? And I want to be clear that we are entering the first step of the adaptive learning process. This is called the grounding circle. And so we are going to be using the issue broadly of conflict within ensembles to go through the process, but it could easily be like, this can be adapted for one-on-one and group scenarios. So like, just to give the example of like, this random person who shut the door in my face or whatever. Like, if we were doing this process, just the 2 of us, it would be, what is your view of the situation, and how do you feel about it? Which is basically what we are going to be looking at here, and we would both answer that question. Okay, does that make sense a little bit? Okay, great. So again, who are you? What is your relationship to the issue of conflict within ensembles? What are your expectations for this workshop? And how do you feel about being here? And I will model that for you, and then we will go to my right. So yeah, as I said before, my name is Walken Schweigert. I also like sharing my pronouns, so I'm going to do that. He, him, again. What is my relationship to this issue? Well, I've had, at least like in the 20 years that almost 20 years that I've had my theater company, we have gone through many iterations of that ensemble. Some of those iterations have been peaceful, and some of them have been really tragic, in my opinion. I also, I don't like cancel culture. I don't like, I think that I could go on and on about that, but I just feel like the left broadly is in a place of like cutting each other off whenever there's disagreements, and I feel like we need to learn how to agree we need tools for coming together to make agreement and for resolving conflicts, because otherwise I don't understand or know how we will ever abolish the police if we don't understand how to resolve conflicts ourselves. It's a shorthand form, but so that's what I would say. My expectations for this workshop is that we are not going to get through like material that I'm hoping that we will, but I hope that, that is my expectation. So I expect that I will leave probably feeling very excited and also very humbled. And how do I feel about being here? Well, I feel pretty nervous because I've never taught these tools before, so I'm just going to say that. My palms are sweating a little bit. But I also feel really excited. Because this is something that I feel really passionate about. I've learned some very hard lessons in this area, and I want to keep learning. And I also feel like, as I said before, I've been in I think we can't just remove this element of hierarchy and pretend that everything's going to be hunky-dory, So I'm complete.
My name is Kitty McGarry, and what did I say? Wait, what did,
Who are you?
I'm Kitty McGarry.
What is your relationship to this issue of conflict within ensembles?
Oh, conflict within ensembles. I am, as a theater person, and theater being so people-oriented, I just feel it's an important process to understand. I had some experience with, I used to work at the county and dealing with angry or frustrated customers. I have training in how to, de-escalate that, or I have experience with that. And just, what else?
What are your expectations?
My expectations, I guess I don't have a lot of expectations about it. I'm open to learning more about it, at least what, you've been studying in that, and I find that very interesting. And I hope to not be disruptive.
And how do you feel about being here?
How do I feel about being here? I guess I feel a little nervous too. I kind of struck a chord when you said that. So I feel a little nervous today for some reason. And otherwise, I feel pretty good about it. I don't know what to, I feel neutral. I guess it's on the positive.
Love it. I'm Julie Phillips, she, her pronouns. I had to write in my notes what the questions were, so if you need backup, I'm here for you.
Thank you.
I am a co-founder of an organization called the Justice Theater Consortium, and part of our goal is to bring theater organizations. We have two goals. The first one is to bring organizations that have kind of different perspectives like this together. And so what I'm interested in is actually, we're in the stages of building practices for building consensus among different organizations or among individual artists that represent different demographics that might have very different perspectives. So we're trying to remove that space between and deepen community, and so I think these practices will be really useful for me. I expect to come away with a lot of notes and things I have to look up more about later, so no pressure for you, and I feel great about being here.
My name is Oren, I use they, she pronouns. I make a lot of big, messy community theater. Done some of that with Walken, and conflict has arisen in that before. And I'm excited to learn a little from Walken about the strategies he has to share around that.
My name is Claire, she, her. I'm a company member of a little 10-person group, making a lot of new plays, like producing them or writing them or workshopping them. And also, like, on and off have like a role as some kind of like mediator or moderator within that structure, sometimes as needed. My relationship to the issue, I would say, like, is not increasingly fraught, but is increasingly on the mind as someone who works consistently with friends in a way that is one of my favorite things about working, and in the way that provides that artistic home that I think then makes working outside a home feel special and important in a way that I don't know if it would without that base. So it's one of the most beautiful things to me. And I think within that too, the longer that it exists as an organization, the tighter I feel about, oh no, like that fearing of conflict, or fearing if there isn't one yet, what will be going on, or what will it look like, or how personal will it feel because of that importance? And then also, where can it be put so that it is not needing to have this discussion as an organization with each other, but also not just having that discussion as friends, or people who live together, or people who are partnered together in their own pockets. And that feeling a little bit impossible, which it might be, and it doesn't have to be correct to be better, but so I think it's increasingly on the mind, just in an anticipatory way almost. My expectations are, I think, similarly to lead with things about like, I shouldn't read that, probably. I should read that, or probably talk to somebody about that, ideally. So I think I'm anticipating a lot of sentences that I will hold on to as like, oh, that's a helpful reframing, I'm gonna keep that. I'm anticipating some sentences that I'll probably hang very tightly to. And how do I feel about being here? A little tense. A little tense. And I think a lot of that is just around the desire to feel so equipped. And I think knowing that that would mean inevitably encountering reason, which I do not feel equipped. Big competence-based person. And that has so many pitfalls. So yeah, it's a good, but that.
I'm Olivia, she, they. My relationship to this issue is I'm interested in fostering artistic community and like community in general. And in the past, I've wanted to create artistic spaces with friends, but sometimes I wonder if the things that I don't align with my friends are things that, I'm curious about tools to all get on the same page or find a way to still make something, or if that's actually not what I should be pursuing. I'm curious about adding more things to my toolbox to be able to figure out who I want to be in community with. My expectations of this, to learn things I didn't know, which I already did, and write down a lot of questions and things to think over later. And I do feel nervous about being here, especially walking in and all the chairs have moved. But I feel good. I feel nervous, but good.
I'm Irie. I use she, her pronouns. I feel like I graduated from my university about a year ago, and all the productions I was in there had some form of conflict that was never resolved. And the thing I left thinking when I graduated was there must be a way to fix that.
Somebody out there.
I'm really excited and willing to create spaces that are good for artists in every way and fulfilling in every way. And so now that I'm in the professional world and I'm wanting to make stuff with my friends and have groups that is not so much the hierarchy of education, I want to make sure I am bringing that forward and keeping in mind ways to make people feel seen and safe and good. I feel like I am hoping and expecting to walk away from this with some new skills, hopefully, and things to look into and tools. And I'm nervous because I'm a nervous person, but I'm excited.
Hi, I'm Tina. She, her pronouns. I'm here because strangely I've had conflict in groups I've worked in. And I may have been part of it sometimes, and witnessed it other times, and caused or repercussed or, conflict. I wonder how well I handle it. I wonder what my role is. I've been blindsided by other people's anger, which means I missed important things. I'm interested in developing my skills as a leader. I have sort of this little nascent company that has had a couple of coughs. Little hairballs have been left, and not really anything ever, flourishing. So I'm sure these things are connected. I want to do better. I want to find out how myself in company can be more. I don't know where the line between company, consensus, groupthink, and making, and decision making, and leadership, and there's something in there I don't understand, where those pieces overlap and come together, and how to use them. That's a lot. Sorry, my expectations are to get some air in my brain on these issues and to open them up and to think about them and maybe make some decisions about changing practice and adapting differently. I feel nervous. I'm very grateful. I thank you. That is all.
Victoria, she, her. I am a theater maker in town. I worked with several ensembles around, and I also am I have a couple different artistic homes. I would consider them artistic homes. Obviously, conflict has arisen over the years. My day job is smack dab in the middle of conflict. It's just conflict all the time. And because of that, I don't necessarily think of conflict as a bad thing so much as it tells you about what people care about. That said, once we know what they care about, we should figure out how to not be mad at each other. So I'm just here to absorb and take whatever tools that you provide and share, and just pick them up and be yeah, great, this is awesome. And that, I guess that's my expectation. It's yeah, great, this is awesome. And as much or as little as I get out of if it's a tool, if it's just hey, the toolbox is over there, ding dong, that's fine too. And I feel great. Not nervous at all. But noted, I'm very pro conflict, so that might be why I have reserves.
I'm Davey Gray. My pronouns are she and they, and my relationship to the issue of conflict and ensemble. So I come to the art world through poetry. So in the past, my practice has been very solo. I've started branching out into film and theater, and so I'm encountering situations where I'm in groups, and I've never seen conflict resolution handled in a healthy way in my life, in any organization, and so I need to learn some things. So my expectation is I will learn something new, which I've already done, so check, and find out where to learn more and also accomplish. So I feel good about being here.
I'm Madeline, she, her. I started a site of my artistic research that became a company of 10, and we suffer greatly from founders syndrome and are interested in flattening our organizational structure. So the opening idea of the idea of eliminating hierarchy and Theory, that's something that really connects with where we're at right now. Yeah, so that's how I approach this issue. My expectation is to get a primer and then to find places to research further. And I feel also very grateful, and there's a tremendous amount of tightness in my chest as well.
Kelly, she, her. I create theater, film, documentaries, so lots of different creative spaces. I'm also on 2 different arts boards. To be honest, out of all of those things, I would say the boards probably where you see the most conflict of any of those spaces. One handles it better than others. But I'm always looking for new tools, and anything that I can use in any one of those avenues is a bonus. And I'm feeling very happy. You gave me a new book to add to my reading list, so that always makes me happy. And quite honestly, like after my limited experience yesterday, I'm just really energized. I'm just really happy to be here. So thank you.
My name is Ben. I'm artistic director of Novelist Music Theater. I work a lot with, my pronouns are he, him, and I work a lot with composers and writers and performers to make new operas and music theater. It turns out they're very passionate people. Who knew? And so for all these years, I've facilitated many collaborations among composers, writers, and performers. And my relationship to being here is my interest in expanding my toolbox. I feel like I can always add more stuff and more ways to facilitate those collaborations in a healthy and positive way. I'm excited to be here. I'm very intrigued. I appreciate, as a bleeding part liberal, I appreciate what you said about cancel culture, because I feel like sometimes people of our political persuasion end up kind of shooting ourselves in the foot and increase the anxiety around conflict resolution. So I was waiting for that. But I'm intrigued and excited.
Hi, I'm Connor, he, him pronouns. Whoa. Okay, so I'm going to start with the last question with how I'm feeling, which is like extraordinarily raw right now because I'm very fresh off of a process that was rife with conflict. And so this workshop is already exceeding my expectations in many ways, just in hearing all of your stories and in feeling the ways in which this resonates with all of us and fears that we all share and the things that we're all having. So that's already very valuable to me. And I would say my expectation for this workshop is to be offered some tools and to absorb those tools, be receptive to it, and to take that on with it. Had to be here.
I'm Sarah. I use she, her pronouns. I think my interest in being here, my relationship to conflict ensembles, it's generally always happened in my experience, and I think my interest is as a human first, as an artist and artist second. Just personally, I've been working through like, how do I actually befriend conflict? It's not useful to be caught in the fear of it, because that just sends you into a cycle of avoiding it or denying it. And it's just so much more useful to bring it into the open, into a circle, and to be able to have tools to digest, metabolize, and be in relationship. Because ultimately, it's really hard to make whether it's a show or a light. No one is making a life or a show of themselves, and I think that embracing the inevitability and the generativity of conflict is something that I'm really curious about personally. As a person who has a past habit of always working at it, but always trying to be I'm so laid back, which actually is I'm really accommodating, and I'm willing to suppress what I actually want and need in order to keep everything chill. But that's led to so much internal angst. Really. So I feel great about being here. It feels energizing, and I feel energized, curious, and also there's something about the energy of being in a circle, which I know is intentional, with everyone else who is curious about what if we change our culture in this way that we're all stepping into this and embracing tools willingly and before something starts to burn on fire, how can we tend it together? So I've already received a lot. It's been so beautiful to hear from everyone. So my expectations is just to be surprised and to come away with a few frameworks that I can dive into even more.
I'm Hannah. I use she, her pronouns. I'm involved with a newer company, just kind of getting its footing, and we're just coming off of a process that had some really strong cohesive elements, some like tough points, and I think in my mind trying to balance like how do we as an ensemble push each other, challenge each other, whereas like the rigor, but also this kind of human interpersonal element is so crucial, and like how do you find the balance between the two? My expectations are like very open, just excited to like hear new ideas, new language, frameworks, and I'm feeling grounded, ready, present, and like also weirdly comforted by having heard how we're all kind of going through very similar things. And I think like when you're in an isolated process, you're like, it's only me, it's only my group, we are the problem, we are wrong. And it's like, no, oh no.
Hello, my name is Alex Church. I use he, him pronouns. I am in the aforementioned new company. And also as an individual, grew up with an entire immediate family of alcoholics, and my day job is working with kids and teaching crisis intervention training, so I live in conflict as a base level. But at the same time too, as an artist, I've had this kind of potpourri of experiences where I have had to be the one to set the consequences and fire people or let them go at what feels to me as a disproportionate amount of the level that it should be for somebody who's only been producing for 3 or 4 years now. So I feel activated by conversations like this, and I'm very curious as to what I could do differently to make things better and or mitigate the need to be like, okay, now you've crossed a line you can't go to anymore. Yeah, and also as a human, just a little tired, a little wired, a little like fidgety. My toes are moving inside the shoes, so if I yawn, that is not an indictment of anyone. But yeah, excited, and also, yes, we're all going through it. Glad we're talking to each other about it.
My name is Linda, she, her pronouns, and I have a lot of different relationships with this. I am right now working with Wanderlust in their program, devising a piece, but more importantly, I sit on 2 different advisory boards. I'm chair of one of them, and I really need tools like this. We just went through, as a lot of you have said, a big conflict and didn't handle it well, and I've already learned from you. I really appreciate what you've even already shared, and very, very happy and hopeful being here.
My name is Tyler. I use he, him pronouns. I suppose, how am I feeling? I'll start with that. I'm listening to all of y'all. I'm surprised at how much, how emotional I'm feeling right now about all this kind of work, and how much healing I need to still do for myself, and that surprised me because I feel that I had given myself enough time for healing, but no, there's still stuff that needs to be acknowledged with what I've gone through. I feel, Tina, you and me have a lot of similarities of, so I'm Aries, and that really, like, I identify with that. But my mom is also an end-of-life doula and expert in nonviolent communication. So those 2 things combined, like, they're very disparate things, but I feel that has given me certain superpowers, and I feel very good about conflict resolutions on certain fronts. But then when it comes time for me to be a leader with those things, for me to hold space for people who have 0 experience with those sorts of things. And for me, with my explosive take the first step forward. Oh, no one's going to step forward. I will step forward. And that is a good thing that I feel good about myself with. But how to navigate, like, for me to speak first, like when to let others speak first, but also recognize like how and when that is actually a good thing for the space. So there's a lot of polarities that I'm reconciling with on those fronts. Expectations. I'm going to adjust it for myself. I just have hopes for healing. I don't want to have any expectations. I hope to be surprised. I hope to be surprised and find the things within myself that, oh yeah, that was what I was missing. Or, yeah, there was a lot of word soup, but I think that there's something in that can be rationalized.
Hey, Drew, he, him. I come from an ensemble-based devising theater background, and the school that I went to really did not actually teach much conflict resolution. So there was a lot of times that we just all kind of sat around not doing anything because we didn't know how to move forward. So I was raised in a pretty conservative household, and I was attracted to this specific workshop actually because of the subtitle, which is how do you conflict resolution when your own human models are like punitive or carceral, right? And like that to me was really fascinating because I feel some of the thought patterns that I was raised with still have tendrils through my brain. And so I'm always kind of on guard, right? I'm always trying to be very diligent about those things and look for other possibilities, other options, other ways of thinking. So I'm really excited about this. I would call myself a little baby leftist, so one of my anticipations is homework. And I'm feeling great. I'm feeling very optimistic right now. So.
Thank you. I think all of you, I just want to like take a moment to honor what was just said and what was just shared. I'll take a breath together if you want. So yeah, we're not in situations culturally within the culture of capitalism where we just go in circle and listen to each other like this. And I'm pointing that out because I just want to identify a couple of things that nobody was interrupted. Everyone was listened to with respect. And everyone got to share what they were expecting of the space. And we were using different parts of our nervous system. There was like, people were recalling past experiences, people were thinking in the moment, and we all spoke about how we felt. So those are all, I'm not a neuroscientist, but from what I understand, those are all different parts of the brain-body, or body-brain, sort of things. So just want to give that insight. One thing that Robert Chadwick talks about a lot in the book, and that we talk a lot about at the farm, is that these processes, they are not made with efficiency in mind. They are made with care, building care, trust, and respect in mind. This is definitely a go slow to go far situation. And so the next thing that I want to offer, just briefly before we go into the next activity, is the definition of conflict that Robert Chadwick uses in the book, which is not simply two people disagreeing. It is two people disagreeing with the element of power. You know, if you imagine, like, we can do a quick exercise. Remind me your name again, Ben?
Ben.
Is that your name? Okay. So will you do an exercise with me very briefly?
Sure.
It'll be very simple.
Okay.
Okay, so you want to go this way, and I want to go that way. Okay, so let's do that. Okay, thank you. So we just demonstrated a difference of opinion, and you can see that we were able to just do our thing. I didn't notice any conflict in that interaction. It seemed pretty chill. But now, if we have this difference of opinion, but I want Ben to go the way that I'm going, then that room crossing looks very different. We're not going to do that. We can return to our seats. An element of force gets introduced. And when force gets introduced, power gets introduced. So, when you're in a place of trying to, to navigate and resolve conflict, power is going to be present because that is in the nature of what conflict is. So we are going to do an exercise now that is called the greeting circle. And this is done at the beginning when we started doing greeting circles at the farm. It was like, I was like, oh, we're doing a greeting circle again. But what I have found is that it's a very incredible tool. When you are resolving a conflict, getting together a circle of people who are going to be working through a conflict together, you really want to make sure that you have all of the interested parties in the room, as many of them as possible, and as many diverse perspectives as possible in the room. And that means that those elements of power are going to be there. But we are going to be resolving conflicts in a way that increases our knowledge base. Even just from the exercise we already did, we all got new information than we had before. But it's also, okay, there's no ritual that is older and more fraught in human beings than greeting each other. People tend to, we tend to congregate with people that we feel safest with, and we tend to ally with those people, and that it can tend to put us into situations where we make either or dichotomies. You're either with me or against me, those kinds of situations. But what we're trying to do with the circle, and what we're trying to do in the adaptive learning process, is to always be building our knowledge base and know that the people in whatever room you're in have the wisdom and the knowledge to solve the conflict. If there is care and trust and respect. But that doesn't just happen out of nowhere. So if you will all please rise and set your writing utensils under your chair or on your chair. We are going to be going to my left now because you always want to be balancing the circle. We don't want to just go in one direction the whole time. And how the greeting circle is going to work is that first I will turn to Drew and we will do some form of consensual greeting. It could be a handshake, could be a hug, could be an elbow bump, could be a fist bump, whatever you want to do. But so I'm first going to greet Drew in a moment. And then
I'm ready.
Sorry, I know Drew, so that's why.
That was consensual.
I won't do that anymore, I promise. And then I will go to Tyler, and then I will go to Linda. When I go to Linda, you will turn to Tyler and greet Tyler. And we will all go around in this way, and then when I get here, I will return to my seat, and then I will be greeted by each one of you. So we are each going to greet each other and be greeted by each person in this space. And that is a very specific and intentional tool used to balance power. Okay? So.
Yeah. What's up, man?
Or we can do a fist bump?
Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. Hi, nice to meet you. Do you want?
Hello again.
Yes. I think I've been in your space. Like the lazy one cross paths. Hello. Alex. Tim. What was your name? Ellie. Which is very busy. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you again. Hello.
Yeah, it's hello.
Alex.
What's your name? Yeah, great.
Hello.
I'm Hannah.
Alex.
Thank you so much. I'm Hi, Victoria.
Great to see you.
Thanks for laughing.
Hi, how you doing? Hello. Hi. Appreciate what you had to say. Nice to meet you. I heard about that. Nice to meet you. Hi, how you doing? Oh, I don't want to formalize like entirely. Like you said, conflict tells us about what's important. Yeah, I learned a lot. Hi, how you doing?
Well, nice to meet you. Sitting next to you.
Do I know you?
Hi, nice to meet you. Kelly.
Oh, shit.
No, it's okay. I noticed you yesterday.
I meet too many people.
Did you make that?
No, I learned that from
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah, that project you made, see what happens. Also, somebody severed. Yeah, you do.
Hi, I'm Kelly. Nice to meet you.
Oh, yes, I was. It's nice to see you again.
Yeah. I know, it's like that awkward turn.
I feel like I've been listening in on your conversations.
Hi, nice to see you.
Oh, yeah. Nice to see you. I mean, you know, we're on the fire. Of course. But today, yeah. Hello.
Nice to meet you.
Victoria, we meet again. We were in the same workshop yesterday. So cool. Last night, I don't know, I went home and fixed stuff on my website. Redoing my website, it's right, fingers crossed, so. I mean, that's my backup in case poetry starves me.
Thank you for listening. Victoria.
Some of us still are. Yeah, we quite give them a fight. Olivia, nice to meet It's slowly. How are you? Hi again. Hello. It's been lovely. I'm talking, pulling up the African framework. Is that okay? Sorry, I just got lost in my conversation. Cool, thank you.
I had a good time.
Hi, Davey. Davey or Davi? Davey. Maybe like Davey. Oh, yeah. I went around the circle and I started.
Hi again. We are kind of funny. I feel like I should shake everyone's hand again, but I don't know if it's necessary. Good to see you. Oh, thank you. I didn't even think that's again.
I do a lot of work.
Good to see you again. Yeah. Hello. Once more. We know each other. It's always lovely to see you. I've been really running this bit into the crowd. How long has it been?
Sweet. How is it standing versus moving? Yeah, you don't have to worry about pace. I'm like constant. I'm like, where am I? Thank you. It's my turn. Yes.
I feel like I learned it yesterday.
So sweet.
I have to learn it.
Doing house now.
Hugs away.
Yes.
But only for consensual hugs. Would you like a consensual hug or a handshake? Hate.
Really nervous.
Yeah, because now we've gone through it once. I feel like everyone deserves a hug unless you don't want them. Yes. Like, everyone needs a hug. Yes, embracing each
In your soul?
Thank you, everyone. Now take a seat. All right. So remember that the purpose of the adaptive learning process is that as a collective body, as a community, as a group of people coming together to solve a conflict, that we are always largening our our knowledge base. So the greeting circle is not complete without asking two questions afterwards. And those questions are, how do you feel and what did you learn? And I will go first to model, and then we will go this way. So how do I feel? I feel buoyant and relaxed. And what did I learn? This is my first time doing a greeting circle with a bunch of theater people. And I'm like, oh my gosh, all the other groups of people that I work with are so quiet. So that was a lovely learning for me. As you're going around, I was like, oh, right. So yeah, that was my learning. I'm complete.
Okay. I'm Kitty again, and
How do you feel, and what did you learn?
I feel kind of fluttery and a little bit hyper, maybe overstimulated or something. And but I thoroughly enjoyed meeting all of you. I just can't express that enough. And I don't know what I learned except that you're even more amazing than my first impression.
I think buoyant's a good word for that. I felt like there was a lot more pressure on the inside of the circle to be interesting or like bring something to the greeting, whereas on the outside of the circle it was like, what are you bringing me? Great. I shall respond in kind. And then Alex suggested that mom hugs are always welcome, and I was like, yes, I'm just gonna hug everywhere. And it changed the pressure I felt for myself. Consensual. It was consensual.
You're welcome.
But I do feel like just having that permission to bring a different energy to it for me, took away a lot of the angst I was feeling.
Oren, again, I just been feeling a lot of sweetness towards everyone in the room. Really sweet to take time to meet everyone and really thinking about how the pressure to rush in general, in anything, in a meeting, in whatever, just, we all feel pressure to rush. We all are sitting in a meeting thinking, oh my God, this person is taking so long to talk, and I really just need to get to the next thing on the agenda. That's something I feel frequently. But how taking time to not feel that pressure to rush can then allow for there to be more trust and respect and care in everyone. And really, on the inside of the circle, I was still feeling some of that pressure to oh, they see the next person isn't talking to someone, I gotta move on. But then trying to take time to be no, I wanna have an intentional moment with this person before I move to the next person. Yeah.
I'm feeling enriched, and I think, what did I learn? Maybe a reminder that it is all very well good to say we want to take the time, and that I think to actually take the time, everyone has to be a part of taking that time. That it is hard to only say that and then practice it across the board. This feels like a nice way of starting off. If we're going to say we take the time to do this, we take the time to stay in relation or in connection with each other, then we will all be taking that time to do that. All of us.
Physically, my cheeks are sore from smiling. I'm feeling very seen, a little overwhelmed, but that's in my nature. I feel I learned that this is possible. Because I feel in college, where I recently was, there's a lot of treating exercises like this as routine or something that has to happen, which I'm sure doing it a lot of times could feel like that. But for me doing this the first time, it feels when everybody shows up, ready to do the thing, it's really that easy to actually feel seen by everybody in the room, which I haven't felt since the first year of acting school. So that's awesome.
I also feel seen. I moved here in June, and so I don't know anybody, and so the last few months I've been constantly around people I don't know, and I haven't really felt I've connected with anybody. So this is very oh wow, people are witnessing me and saying hello. So that was good, and I feel I learned that I am really bad at small talk, even though I want to reach out and connect with people. But yeah, I think it was good for me.
Hi, I'm feeling validated, thank you. Really pivotal today. It was kind of a wide open day, and it feels grounding to make these connections. Thank you all. I learned that time is generous, and that thank you for being generous with time in this afternoon. And disconnecting time in company from the money that it costs to have a group of people together I mean, we didn't pay for this, thank you. And to Josh and for the space, right? And there are no dollars that I'm seeing attached to my being here today, but that doesn't mean it's not without cost somewhere, and trying to hold rehearsals in my life and the dollar signs attached to that, it's very hard to let go of time and money. So it feels really generous. Thank you.
I'm feeling really great because I got a lot of consensual hugs. And many years ago I learned that you need like 10 or 11 hugs in a day to kind of meet this like human connection need. And I think I got my fill today. Which, you know, doesn't happen a lot, especially when you get up and you go into a professional environment and we don't hug our business partners. Outside of our artistic thing. So I feel really physically great about that and elated. And the thing I learned is even before I really got moving is I could see how this will this alone could bring down the temperature on so many conversations before you, and I was just like, oh my God, if nothing else. So you have now met, I needed one tool today, you have now met that. But I was watching it and I was like, I mean, we've all bought in and we don't have any real conflict in this group. And that, as far as I know, I don't know, maybe somebody does. But I was like, the temperature could be brought down so easily by shaking hands and looking someone in the eye and greeting them. And it was just really lovely to witness and to realize.
I feel great. I love to meet people, so this was, heaven. And it felt good to reconnect with people who I've been in workshops with, or here last year with. And I learned some small things about several individual people that helped me to feel like I know them, and I hope helped them to feel seen. And I feel like I can feel connected to each person in this room as a human in a way that I wasn't able to before meeting them each individually. So this was great. Thank you.
I feel calmer. And I learned that the second circle felt like we were building something that could be built upon in other ways beyond the exercise.
Say I feel slightly elated, because that was very positive. And it's fascinating the power dynamic shift from when you're on the outside of the circle versus inside the circle. Such a tiny thing, but what a huge difference. And it's like, you have to be aware of just those tiny little mechanisms that can change things in a conversation or situation. It can be that little, so just to be cognizant.
Trying to identify the precise word I wanted to use, the language is really important to me. And I realized that the word that described how I was feeling was defenseless. And I learned that that's a positive thing. That can be a positive use of that word, which is unusual in our culture. And then also sort of learning how or being reminded how the setting up a constructed kind of we're going to do this thing that's sort of imposed on us, I mean that also in a positive way, and how genuine that can be. And it was so enjoyable just to chat with people without any kind of preconceptions or ultimate goal other than just to chat.
Yeah, I'm feeling that a lot of the pressurized air has been let out of the space, and I'm learning that structure can be very important in letting that air out. Be it an imposed exercise or just some kind of form.
I'm feeling at ease, just peaceful and happy. And something that I learned, I feel that the subtle like nervous system differences of being on the outside versus the inside, where it's like, oh, what am I going to say? Or those little things that like it's a little thing, but also that nervous system reading of are we going to hug? Are we going to shake hands? Like what's the like that little vibe checking that the embodied like the nervous system does. And this is a really warm and welcoming space, but I was also just thinking of like how that would in different settings how that would translate. But yeah, really that difference between receiving and being received, and both are really fruitful spaces. So thank you. I feel nourished.
I think I feel a like little sparkle of like surprised delight. I just didn't know what that would bring, and I feel delighted. And I think what I learned is like just kind of a reminder of like how many people I pass every day, and the difference between just kind of like passing and like witnessing and acknowledging and listening and speaking and connecting.
I felt very connected and curious, curious because I wanted to talk to a lot of you longer than you were able to stay. But also connected in the sense, like those of you that I did not know, I felt like the ice was broken pretty quickly, like especially the second time around. It was like, okay, now we can, like if we have a second to talk, it's a little bit more deeper. And I feel like what I learned was, because I want to like connect with people out at shows, or I see you at the grocery store, I want to say hi. I'm like, oh, I know that person, I've seen them before. But I don't go oftentimes because I'm afraid of the goodbye. Like I'm less like, we're gonna go and we're gonna have a bad conversation. I'm not worried about that. And neither of us are hateful. But it's like, I don't wanna have that conversation and then have the awkwardness of like, well, I'm gonna get back to what I was doing now. And this is, like by definition, you have to keep moving. And so that was very comforting to me to be able to say like, hi. And that's just a realization that I didn't expect.
Wow, I feel very energized after the exercise. I will say though that I felt a little uncomfortable, especially the first time. I felt much more comfortable being on the outside than the inside, which was interesting. So I learned something about myself that way. But I also feel like it's a really good technique to use. I feel like it brings energy, really a lot of energy.
I feel seen, I feel accepted, I feel at ease. And care, trust, respect, I feel I have implicit trust for everyone in this circle. I am reminded that true growth never happens in the abstract, in the theoretical. It will only occur within some sort of embodied practice, which is why I keep coming back to theater. I'm grateful for this circle time with all of you because I'm reminded of actually moments before this. I encountered a person that I took a workshop with last spring, and it was the whole, like, I realized that I went through the whole, like, spinning plates routine of, I want this person to see my usefulness because we're at a theater conference and I want a goddamn job. So please see how impressive I am. And within this circle now, who gives a shit? Because I think, now that I think about the difference is, because of this practice, we have ritualized an abundance mindset, whereas I was in a scarcity mindset. And now because we have established amongst us an abundance mindset, everything that we say and do together, I can only imagine, is going to be exponentially more effective within our dialogue because we took the time to establish what we need to establish.
Meeting new people is like a really fraught experience for me, so I'm actually like working some adrenaline out of my system still. So I'm feeling a little, I'm vibrating a little bit. I learned that everybody in the room has a really nice handshake, so good job to everybody. And to build a little bit on the operating from like positions of power that the two of you were touching on, or the power imbalance, right? I'm seeing really clearly in that experience that like when operating from a place of even perceived power, it can be a very generous and graceful thing to like make sure that you're like offering things to the other person, right? Like, oh, let's talk about this. Okay, I've got another idea, right? So it can be a little bit, yeah. So you just try and even it out a little bit, which is I think a responsibility.
So we are at time for this workshop, but I did, Oren did suggest, and I don't know, this is like a moment of facilitator transparency, that if anybody wants, we do have these half-hour breaks, if anyone wants to stay for an additional 10 minutes, I don't know if that's possible, if it would be better just to...
I would say that I do have to let another person come in and set up,
right.
But I don't want to interrupt your magic. If you could maybe make it kind of like in the lobby area.
I think maybe we'll just close it for now, and I will just say that I really encourage you to check out Robert Chadwick's book, and to check out the EET, and if you have any questions or, want to know more, I am not like a certified trainer of this process, so I want to be really clear about that, but Ayana, my collective member, is, and so are several of my collective members at Philadelphia Community Farm. So, yeah, and then I just want to very quickly say that there's 2 shows happening, one at Philly Farm with a theater company from Detroit called the Hinterlands, that will be coming through at the beginning of October, and then by my own theater company, Open Flame, will be having a work in progress showing of our newest opera called The Wilderness, in Powderhorn Park the first weekend of September. So please come get some of the materials, take pictures of the books, and yeah, sorry we went 5 minutes over, and thank you everyone.